The Grand Council of the Galaxy was a place where power gathered. It was not a simple meeting hall. It was a colossal chamber carved from an asteroid that floated between stars. Its walls were lined with glowing symbols from countless civilizations, each mark showing the strength of an empire that once ruled. Giant crystal pillars rose toward the ceiling, casting strange lights across the gathering. Hundreds of alien races had come, their voices echoing through the vast chamber, each one competing to sound greater, prouder, and stronger than the other. The atmosphere was loud, restless, and filled with pride. Every empire believed it was the center of civilization. They shared stories of their victories, their technologies, and their conquests. Each representative spoke with arrogance, reminding the others that their people had reached heights no one else could. In this loud storm of power and pride, a smaller group of humans sat quietly in the back. The humans had been invited to this meeting, though not out of respect. The council wanted entertainment. To them, humans were amusing, a young species from a small blue world called Earth. In their eyes, humans were nothing more than primitives who had climbed too quickly into the stars. They had no great fleets, no grand colonies across the galaxy, and no powerful weapons that could match the ancient empires sitting in the chamber. To the council, humanity was like a child trying to sit among warriors. As the session began, the laughter started. The representative of the Karak Dominion, a reptilian empire known for its brutal wars, stood up. His scales gleamed under the chamber's lights, and his voice carried sharp confidence. "Look," he hissed, pointing toward the human delegation. "The primitives are here. Do they think silence will make them look wise? Or are they too simple to understand what is happening?" The chamber filled with laughter. Deep booming sounds came from massive creatures with horns, while high-pitched clicks and screeches echoed from insectoid beings. Each race found the mockery amusing. They looked at the humans and saw weakness, and that weakness made them feel stronger. Another speaker rose, this time from the Shiran Alliance, a species with tall, slender forms and silver skin. "Humans," she said with a smile, "are fragile things. Their lifespans are short. Their history is filled with wars against themselves. They burn their own world with fire before they even learn to walk among the stars. What kind of species destroys itself before learning unity? It is almost adorable." The council roared with laughter again. Some clapped their claws together, others pounded the floor with heavy limbs, creating thunder in the chamber. The humans remained still. Their faces gave no reaction, no anger, no protest. They sat in silence, which only made the aliens louder. To Ko, the council, silence was weakness, silence was defeat. They thought the humans had nothing to say because they had no history worth telling. They saw them as too embarrassed to defend themselves. The mockery grew louder, sharper, crueler. One delegate from the Threx Confederacy, a species of towering insectoids, raised a spiked arm and said, "Perhaps we should let the humans speak. Maybe they will tell us how they mastered fire after millions of years of struggle, or how they used sticks and stones to fight one another, or how they looked at their sky and prayed to invisible gods because they were too afraid of the dark." The chamber burst into laughter again. The humans still said nothing. At the center of the human delegation sat an old man. His hair was gray, his skin wrinkled, his eyes heavy with years of life. He wore no armor, no robe of status, only a simple dark suit. While the council laughed, he looked around the chamber with calm eyes. He watched the pride in the aliens' faces, the arrogance in their voices, and the way they leaned on their long histories of power. He did not speak. Not yet. Beside him, a younger human shifted uncomfortably. She was new to this kind of council. The laughter was sharp, cutting into her patience. She leaned closer to the old man and whispered, "Why do we sit here and take this? Why don't we answer?" The old man's lips curved into a faint smile, though his eyes remained cold. He whispered back, "Because they don't know." They don't know what came before." The young woman frowned, confused, but stayed quiet. The council continued its mockery for hours. Stories of alien victories were told, always comparing themselves to humanity's simplicity. Some races even staged small performances, showing holograms of humans with clubs and spears fighting animals. The crowd cheered and laughed like it was a theater. Yet the humans never replied. Their silence became a shadow in the room. It was as if they carried a secret. But no one noticed. No one cared. Finally, the supreme speaker of the council, a being of pure energy contained within a crystal shell, raised its voice. "Humans," it said, glowing brighter, "you sit among us, yet you give no words. You are silent while the galaxy speaks. Is it because you have nothing to offer? Or do you know your place and accept it? Tell us, what is humanity's gift to the stars?" The chamber went quiet. Everyone turned toward the humans, waiting. The old man looked at the speaker, then at the thousands of eyes watching him. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, in a voice barely louder than a whisper, he spoke. "They don't know," he said softly, "that we were not always peaceful." The words were simple, but they spread through the chamber like a slow wave. Some aliens tilted their heads, confused. Others scoffed. A few felt a strange chill but quickly laughed it off. To them, it was the desperate muttering of an old man. Trying to sound mysterious, the speaker of the council narrowed its light. "And what does that mean, human?" But the old man gave no answer. He closed his eyes, leaned back in his chair, and fell silent again. Confusion rippled through the council, but the moment passed. The laughter returned, though quieter now. Some races mocked the humans again, but others could not shake the unease. Still, no one pressed further. They thought humans had no power to back such words. The meeting ended hours later. The alien empires left the chamber, proud and satisfied that they had once again proven their superiority. The humans stood quietly and walked out, ignored like shadows at the edge of the room. But far from the council, on the small blue world of Earth, something stirred. Beneath the surface of the oceans, deep inside forgotten caves, and hidden under old ruins, machines older than memory began to awaken. Their cores glowed faintly, their systems humming with life after centuries of silence. In the deserts, ancient towers buried in sand pulsed with light. In the frozen north, giant metal structures hidden under ice broke free as if sensing a call. Above, Earth's atmosphere, in regions of space thought to be empty, signals were transmitted. They were not ordinary transmissions. They were codes written in a language older than any modern one. Instructions set across the void of stars. The signal spread like a ghost through the galaxy. Too faint for most to notice, but powerful enough to reach its destination. In the far edge of the galaxy, where no empire dared to go, a dead sector of space existed. It was a place filled with ruined stars and broken worlds. No ships traveled there. No colonies survived there. It was a graveyard of suns, yet in that silence, a single colossal object floated. It was not an asteroid, not a station, not a ruin. It was a ship. Its size was beyond imagination, larger than cities, larger than the moons of some worlds. Its surface was dark, covered in scars from ancient battles, but its shape was unmistakably crafted by hands that once ruled with purpose. For thousands of years, it had been silent, drifting like a corpse until the signal reached it. A faint light flickered across its hull. Old systems groaned back to life. The ship trembled as if waking from a long sleep. One by one, its massive engines glowed faintly, pushing out a breath of power. Deep inside, weapons hummed. Silent halls filled with air once again. The ship turned. Slowly, its giant frame shifting in the darkness. Its sensors awakened, scanning the stars. It remembered its duty. On Earth, the old man stood alone in his chamber, looking out a window at the night sky. He did not smile. He did not frown. He simply whispered, "The Guardians are listening." And somewhere far away, the ancient warship began to move. The galaxy had laughed at humanity. They had called them primitive, weak, and foolish. But in the darkness, something older than any empire had stirred. Something that belonged to humanity alone. The Council's laughter echoed in memory, but it would not last. The ancient warships were beginning to awaken, and soon, the galaxy would remember that humans were never as weak as they seemed. The signal had been sent. The past was rising. And the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The galaxy was restless after the Grand Council. The gathering had ended, but the memory of it lingered. For many empires, it was nothing more than another meeting where they laughed at the humans. But for a few, the strange whisper of the old man haunted their thoughts. They don't know. We were not always peaceful. At first, most dismissed it. What could humans possibly mean? They had only just entered the stars. They had no great fleets, no vast colonies, no legendary victories. Their weapons were simple compared to the galaxy's mighty powers. The words of an old human seemed like nothing but a frail attempt to sound mysterious. But not everyone laughed. In the weeks that followed, whispers began to spread. Alien spies and historians, always searching for hidden strengths and weaknesses of rivals, turned their attention toward humanity. Most expected to find nothing. But what they uncovered did not match their expectations. On worlds close to Earth, old ruins had been discovered in the past ruins that no one could explain. Massive stone pillars covered with strange symbols, carvings of warships etched into rock faces, and tunnels deep beneath mountains that no one had fully explored. At the time, these discoveries were ignored, dismissed as primitive human myths. But when re-examined, they seemed different. The Shiren Alliance, known for its scholars, began to quietly collect human legends. They studied stories of ancient gods, of battles in the sky, of star beings who came down in fire. They thought these were only myths created by a primitive race afraid of the unknown. But the details troubled them. Too many stories matched patterns seen in other ancient empires. Too many spoke of weapons that could burn entire worlds, of guardians who slept until they were needed. A Shiren scholar whispered to her colleagues, "What if these are not myths? What if they are memories?" Meanwhile, in the Threx Confederacy, an insectoid explorer returned from a secret mission near Earth's solar system. His ship carried strange data. He had detected energy readings buried deep beneath the oceans of Earth, readings too old, too strange to be modern human technology. His report was simple. There is something under their seas, something ancient, something alive. The Confederacy dismissed him at first. They told him he had imagined it, or that he had scanned human submarines. But when other scouts found similar readings in the asteroid belt and even on Mars, the laughter grew weaker. Something about humanity did not add up. Then came the rumor of the dead sector. For centuries, there had been a part of the galaxy no one entered. It was a region of broken stars, collapsed systems, and drifting debris. Ships that went too close often vanished without explanation. Most empires ignored it, calling it cursed space. But whispers spread that strange signals had been detected there, signals carrying the human signature. One small merchant crew reported seeing a shape moving in the darkness of that sector. At first, they thought it was an asteroid. But as their sensors focused, the object looked metallic, structured, and massive. Before they could scan further, their ship's systems collapsed, and the crew barely escaped. Their final transmission was filled with fear. Something is out there. It's not dead. It's waiting. The Council tried to silence these rumors. They declared the humans harmless, insisted that all these stories were fabrications, exaggerations from frightened travelers. But silence is fragile in a galaxy filled with curious minds. The more the Council tried to bury the whispers, the more they spread. Smugglers told tales of strange lights above Earth's poles. Traders swore they saw shadows moving across distant moons. Old star maps long ignored suddenly became valuable again, as scholars noticed marks pointing toward hidden systems connected to Earth's ancient past. In the hidden chambers of the Karak Dominion, the reptilian warlords held a secret council of their own. One of their generals slammed a clawed fist against the table. "If these rumors are true," he growled, "then humans are not as weak as they appear. If they hold ancient weapons, they could rise against us." Another general hissed in laughter. "Nonsense, they are primitives. If they had such power, we would already know. They would not sit silent while we mocked them." But the first general leaned closer, his eyes burning. "Did you not hear the Old One's words? We were not always peaceful." That was no empty threat. It was a warning. Still, no one acted openly. No empire wanted to admit fear. To admit fear of humans would be to admit weakness. So instead, they watched. Quietly, patiently. On Earth itself, life seemed normal. Humans continued their ordinary struggles. Their governments debated. Their people worked. To the galaxy, nothing appeared unusual. But beneath the surface, things had begun to change. Deep within secret human facilities, scientists and leaders gathered around ancient artifacts long hidden from public eyes. Massive machines that had been unearthed decades ago hummed faintly with energy. Symbols older than human writing glowed under careful study. One scientist whispered to her commander, "The signal was sent. The Guardians are stirring. We must prepare." The commander nodded. But the galaxy must not know. Not yet. Far beyond, in the dead sector, the colossal shape that had begun to awaken stirred again. Its hull glowed faintly, lights crawling across its surface like veins of fire. Systems once thought dead were alive again. Deep inside, chambers that had been sealed for ages opened with heavy echoes. It was not alone. Across the edges of the galaxy, in forgotten corners, other shapes began to move. Some were buried under the dust of dead worlds. Some were hidden in the shadows of black holes. Some drifted silently in asteroid fields, disguised as lifeless rocks. All of them now felt the signal, the call from Earth. The first awakenings were small, a flicker of light here, a shift of metal there. But each movement was a promise that something vast, something ancient, was returning. Back in the council chambers, another meeting was held weeks later. This time, the laughter was less. The rumors had grown too loud to ignore. The delegate of the Chiron Alliance stood, her silver skin reflecting the chamber's lights. "We have studied the humans' myths," she said. "They are not simple stories. They are fragments of memory. They speak of guardians, of fleets that once burned the skies. They speak of wars so old they have been forgotten by even us. We should not ignore this." The Karake general hissed in response. "Stories, nothing more. Myths are not weapons. Legends do not destroy fleets." But the Threx representative clicked his mandibles nervously. "One of our explorers vanished near the dead sector. His final words spoke of something moving, metallic, alive." The chamber grew tense. Some delegates laughed nervously, others shifted uneasily. The supreme speaker of the council raised its light and said, "Enough. Humans are weak. Their world is small. If they had such power, it would already be seen. We will not waste time on ghost stories." Yet even as the speaker glowed brighter, many in the chamber felt doubt. And in the silence beyond the stars, the ancient warships continued to awaken. One massive vessel turned its sensors toward the galaxy, scanning worlds it had not seen in thousands of years. Another began charging its reactors, filling its empty halls with the sound of power. Across the void, the guardians of humanity's forgotten age prepared to rise. The galaxy had called humans primitive. They had laughed, mocked, and dismissed them, but whispers were spreading faster than laughter. Whispers of forgotten power. And soon, whispers would no longer be enough. The Guardians were coming. The galaxy did not change in a single day. For most of its races, life went on as usual. Empires argued, merchants traded, fleets patrolled. On the surface, nothing was different. But in hidden corners of space, in the shadows of forgotten systems, something ancient was beginning to rise. The signal from Earth had reached places long untouched by time. It had flowed through the void like a ghost, traveling faster than light, finding the lost children of an older age. And now, the Guardians were stirring. At the edge of the dead sector, the colossal warship that had flickered with faint light. In Part 2 continued its awakening. Its hull, scarred from battles older than any modern war, shivered as internal systems roared back to life. A ship that had drifted in silence for thousands of years now glowed with power. Inside, the darkness broke. Massive corridors lit up one by one. Engines groaned. Weapons hummed as ancient energy poured through them. Data streams ran across walls, systems checking themselves after ages of sleep. It was like a giant beast breathing again after endless slumber. The ship's core pulsed with a rhythm, as if it had a heart. A voice, not human but built from human design, echoed through its halls. It spoke no words, but its meaning was clear. I am awake. Outside, its size became clearer to those who watched. Merchant ships traveling near the dead sector noticed strange readings. Their sensors caught sudden bursts of energy, far too powerful to be natural. One unlucky freighter drifted too close. At first, the crew thought they saw an asteroid. Then the asteroid moved. The shadow unfolded into a ship so massive it blocked the stars behind it. The crew panicked. Their captain tried to steer away, but their systems went dead. Screens went black, engines froze, alarms screamed. For 10 seconds, the freighter drifted helplessly in silence. Then suddenly, power returned. The ship's systems flickered back on, but the warship was gone. It had vanished into the dark, moving with a speed no one thought possible for something so large. The freighter's captain recorded everything. His voice shook as he sent the message. It was not a ruin. It was not dead. It looked at us. And then it let us go. The report spread quickly. At first, governments tried to deny it. They called it a mistake, a lie, a hallucination. But the data could not be erased. Too many scans confirmed it. Too many witnesses swore the same story. Something old, something enormous, had awakened in the dead sector. The rumors grew into fear. Some alien leaders began to remember the humans' words at the council. We were not always peaceful. Suddenly, the laughter did not sound so strong. In secret, fleets were sent. The Karak Dominion dispatched warships into the dead sector, determined to find the truth. Their admirals believed they could destroy whatever they found. They were warriors after all, feared across the stars. What was one ship compared to their might? They entered the dead sector in silence. For days, their ships moved through fields of dead stars and broken planets. Their sensors picked up faint trails of energy but nothing solid. The crews grew nervous. Space was quiet, too quiet. Then, on the 7th day, they found it. The ancient warship drifted ahead of them, silent. Enormous, almost like a sleeping titan. Its black surface reflected no light, making it hard to see until they were close. At first, the Karak admiral laughed. "This is their weapon? A dead shell? It will crumble under our fire." He gave the order to attack. The Dominion fleet opened fire with plasma beams and torpedoes. Dozens of shots hit the ancient ship. Explosions filled the void. For a moment, the Karak roared in triumph. But then the flames vanished. The ancient hull was untouched. The weapons had done nothing. The warship stirred. Lights crawled across its body. Energy surged through its massive frame. Weapons, hidden, until now, unfolded like the wings of a predator. The Karuk admiral's laughter died in his throat. His sensors screamed warnings. Then the warship fired. One shot, a beam of light brighter than a sun, cut through space. It struck the lead Karuk cruiser. In less than a second, the cruiser vanished, torn apart into dust. Another shot followed, then another. Every beam struck true. Karuk ships exploded one after another, their shields useless, their armor burning away like paper. The Dominion fleet tried to retreat. Engines roared, ships spun, commanders screamed orders. But the ancient ship moved faster than anything its size should. It glided through the void like a predator chasing prey. Its weapons carved through the fleet with perfect precision. In less than 5 minutes, the mighty Karuk armada was gone. Only wreckage remained, floating silently in the dead sector. The warship powered down again, its weapons folding away, its lights dimming until it looked like a shadow once more. But the galaxy would not forget. Survivors, few and broken, managed to send out a final message before their ships were destroyed. The recording showed everything: the size of the warship, the destruction of the fleet, the speed, the power. The message ended with the admiral's last words: "This is no myth. Humanity is not what we thought." The news shook the galaxy. At first, empires tried to control the information. They called it propaganda, a trick, an exaggeration. But the images spread too quickly. Every network, every channel, every corner of the galaxy saw the same truth. The ancient warship was real, and it belonged to humans. Panic began to grow. If one ship could destroy a fleet in minutes, how many more were out there? Was this the only one, or were there hundreds, thousands? The silence of the humans now seemed terrifying. In the council chambers, the debates turned into chaos. Delegates shouted, demanded answers, accused each other of hiding information. The Shiran scholar stood again, her silver skin trembling. "I told you," she cried. "The myths are memories. The guardians are real, and they are waking." The supreme speaker glowed furiously. "Silence, we will not fall to fear. This is one ship, one. No fleet, no empire, can rise from the ashes of myth. Humanity is still weak." But even as the speaker tried to sound strong, its light flickered with unease. On Earth, the old man sat once again by his window, staring at the stars. Reports from across the galaxy reached him, but he was not surprised. He whispered softly, as if speaking to the night sky itself, "The first has awakened. The others will follow." And he was right. Across the galaxy, more warships began to stir. On a barren moon at the edge of known space, the ground trembled as a buried ship pushed itself free. On a dead world near a black hole, an enormous structure unfolded its wings, revealing itself not as a ruin, but a living vessel. In the asteroid belt near Jupiter, what once looked like a cluster of rocks split open, revealing hidden metal and glowing engines. Each awakening sent fear into the galaxy. Merchants vanished near systems once thought empty. Explorers returned with wild eyes, swearing they saw titans moving in the dark. Empires scrambled to prepare, building fleets, forming secret alliances, and plotting desperate plans. But it was already too late. The galaxy had seen the truth. Humanity was not primitive. Humanity was not weak. They were the children of an ancient power, a power now rising again. And the first awakening was only the beginning. The galaxy no longer laughed at humans. The destruction of the Karuk Dominion fleet had spread fear across every world. Entire armadas had been torn apart in minutes by a single ship. One ship, silent and ancient, had defeated warriors that were feared for centuries. It was no rumor now. It was no myth. It was truth. But the greater terror was not the warship itself. It was the question whispered across the stars: how many more are there? Every empire, every ruler, every soldier thought of the same thing. If one ship could crush a fleet, then an entire armada of such ships could destroy the galaxy itself. And the humans, those quiet, Primitive humans were the only ones who seemed calm. In the halls of the Grand Council, arguments erupted day after day. Some demanded immediate war with Earth before more ships could awaken. Others pleaded for peace, begging the Council to form alliances with the humans. No one could agree. Fear had broken the unity of the empires. One delegate, trembling with anger, shouted, "We mocked them, and now their shadows rise over us. We must destroy them before it is too late." But another voice, quieter but sharper, answered, "Destroy them? With what? Our fleet's already failed. Do you want to throw yourselves into fire again?" The chamber grew tense. For the first time in centuries, the Council was powerless. Their pride had blinded them, and now they could not decide what to do. Meanwhile, out in the dark corners of space, the ancient fleet stirred. It did not awaken all at once. No, it came slowly, like shadows crawling across the stars. On dead worlds, ships buried under mountains shook free, breaking the ground apart as they rose. In gas clouds where no one dared to travel, massive vessels drifted into view, their hulls glowing with the same mysterious light. In asteroid belts and frozen moons, hidden giants revealed themselves, as if the galaxy itself had been keeping secrets. Each awakening sent ripples of fear. Merchants who once traveled freely now refused to enter certain systems. Smugglers told stories of ships larger than cities gliding silently past them, their weapons glowing but never firing. Explorers vanished, their last words filled with terror as they whispered about giant eyes watching us in the dark. And all of it pointed back to Earth. For the first time, alien empires began sending envoys not to mock, but to beg. Representatives came to human leaders in quiet chambers, offering gifts, technology, and promises of alliance. They wanted protection. They wanted answers. The humans, however, remained silent. In the same small council chamber on Earth, the old man stood again, before younger leaders. His voice was calm, steady, as he spoke. "The Guardians are awake. They have been waiting. They remember what was once forgotten, and now the galaxy sees only shadows, not the full truth." One young human leader frowned. "Should we tell them everything? Should we explain?" The old man shook his head. "No, the galaxy mocked us when they thought we were weak. Now they tremble when they see only a glimpse of our past. Let them fear. It will keep them from moving against us too quickly." But even as he spoke, the galaxy prepared for war. The Karak Dominion, humiliated by their defeat, built new fleets with desperation. The Threx Confederacy sent thousands of scouts into the stars, searching for the Warships' hidden nests. The Shiren Alliance, more fearful than proud, secretly reached out to humans again, begging for peace treaties. Yet no one could deny the truth. The shadows of the ancient fleet were spreading. In one system, an entire mining colony sent a distress call. They claimed a massive ship had risen from beneath the planet's crust, shattering mountains as it emerged. The last message before silence was a single line. It did not attack, but it watched us, like a predator. In another sector, patrol fleets found dozens of wrecked ships floating in silence. The crews were gone, vanished, but the ships bore no damage from known weapons. Instead, strange scorch marks ran across the hulls, marks that matched no technology in the galaxy. Some whispered that the ancient warships had taken the crews alive. For what purpose, no one knew. Fear turned into paranoia. Empires began accusing one another of working with the humans. Skirmishes broke out along borders. Alliances fractured. And in the middle of this chaos, humanity stood quiet, untouched, protected by shadows too vast to challenge. But not every empire accepted fear. Some wanted answers, even if it meant death. A fleet from the Zoroth Empire dared to confront one of the awakened warships. They approached it with weapons ready, broadcasting messages demanding its surrender. For long minutes, the ship said nothing. It floated silently, its massive frame blocking the stars. Then, slowly, its weapons powered up, the Zorath fleet hesitated. Some commanders wanted to retreat, but their emperor demanded courage. They fired. Hundreds of missiles and beams lit up the void. The ancient warship moved. It did not fight with rage. It fought with precision. Each shot it fired cut through ships with surgical accuracy. Where modern fleets use numbers, the ancient ship used perfection. In less than 10 minutes, the Zorath fleet was gone. But this time, the warship did not vanish into silence. Instead, it broadcast a signal. The signal was short, but it carried across the galaxy. Translations varied, but its meaning was clear enough. We do not seek war, but we are awake. Do not test us again. The galaxy froze. It was the first time the ancient warships had spoken. And their words were not threats, but warnings. On Earth, the old man listened to the signal with closed eyes. The shadows speak. Now, he whispered. Soon, the galaxy will realize they are not only shadows, but the return of something greater than all their empires combined. The Shiren Alliance, desperate to survive, sent another message to humanity. We will kneel. They said, we will accept your strength. Just protect us when the others rise against you. Other empires were not so humble. The Karake swore vengeance, promising to build weapons strong enough to tear even the ancient warships apart. The Threk spread propaganda, claiming the warships were not human at all, but stolen relics from a forgotten empire. And yet, no matter what lies they told, fear never left their voices. For every shadow revealed, more questions grew. How many ships were still hidden? How long had they slept? And most terrifying of all, if these were only the Guardians, then what had they once been built to fight? The galaxy, once united in laughter, was now divided in terror. Some begged for peace, some prepared for war. And all across the stars, shadows of the ancient fleet stretched further and further, darkening the light of pride and arrogance. And humanity, the species once mocked as primitive, now stood at the center of it all. But the fleet had only begun to stir. The shadows were gathering. The true storm had yet to come. The galaxy had changed forever. The ancient warships were no longer shadows in the dark. They had awakened fully, rising from hidden corners of space, from dead planets, and from the ruins of forgotten worlds. Their size, their power, and their precision had become legend. Across the stars, empires whispered of humanity not as a weak race, but as the inheritors of a power older than any known civilization. Everywhere, fear spread. The Karak dominion, once proud and feared, had fallen. Silent, their fleets, rebuilt and reinforced, were nothing before the first full strike of the Guardians. Ships exploded before they could fire. Planets once protected by armadas were left defenseless. The Dominion's leaders hid in panic, sending desperate messages of surrender and begging for mercy. The Threk's confederacy tried to rally. They sent their fastest fleets to intercept the Guardians, hoping that speed and numbers could outmatch the ancient machines. But speed was useless, numbers meaningless. Each warship moved like a shadow in the void, appearing where it was needed, striking with precision, then vanishing before the enemy could react. Entire sectors fell into silence as fleets vanished into nothingness. And through all of it, humans did not strike first. From Earth, humanity watched the events unfold. They did not celebrate destruction, nor did they seek revenge for the ridicule of the past. Their leaders moved quietly, giving orders not for conquest, but for control of the awakened fleet. Their power was immense, yet tempered by wisdom learned over centuries. In the council room beneath Earth's surface, the old man spoke to younger leaders. His voice was calm, carrying through the chamber like the calm before a storm. We never sought war. Our people were mocked, laughed at, and dismissed. But the galaxy has forced its hand. It is not we who attack, it is the past returning. One young leader asked, do we not fear that they will resist us? That the empires will unite against Earth? The old man shook his head. They cannot. Unite. Fear has already destroyed their pride. When the first shadows of our fleet appeared, they realized they had underestimated us. Now they see only power they cannot match. They will kneel before they fight. And if they do not, they will be destroyed not by our anger, but by the Guardian's memory of duty. The Guardian ships of a forgotten human age moved with purpose across the galaxy. They did not burn worlds without reason, nor did they attack those who had already surrendered. Every movement was calculated, deliberate, a demonstration of humanity's strength without unnecessary cruelty. Across the stars, empires began to capitulate. Systems that had once mocked humans sent envoys, bearing gifts, pledges of loyalty, and promises to follow humanity's leadership. Even the proud Karak lowered their claws in submission, trembling as a single Guardian warship hovered above their capital world. For the first time, humans entered a council of alien races, not as guests, not as equals, but as leaders. Their presence commanded respect. Silence filled the room as delegates from dozens of species realized they were no longer in control. A human representative, a young diplomat with steady eyes, rose to speak. His words were clear and firm, but not filled with arrogance. We did not wish to rule. We did not wish to conquer. But the galaxy has seen our past, and it has understood our power. Let this be a warning. Humans are not to be mocked, not to be underestimated, and never to be threatened. The delegates trembled. They had laughed once, thinking humans weak. Now they knew laughter was impossible. They knew fear. And fear was stronger than laughter ever had been. Across the council, a Shiran ambassador bowed deeply. "We accept your leadership," she said. "We understand now. Humans are not primitive. Humans are the inheritors of an ancient strength. We cannot oppose." Others followed, one by one, some hesitantly, some with tears in their eyes. The galaxy was kneeling not out of love, not out of desire, but out of respect and fear. Respect for the power humanity commanded, and fear of what would happen if that power was provoked. In the dead sector, the Guardians waited silently. They were fully awake now. Thousands of massive ships moving through space with precision unmatched. They followed orders without question, protecting humanity's systems, enforcing peace, and demonstrating power to those who might resist. The Karak Dominion tried to rebuild, thinking they could gather strength for a rebellion, but they quickly learned it was futile. Every ship they launched, every weapon they prepared, was neutralized before it could strike. The Guardians were everywhere and nowhere at once. Shadows and reality intertwined. For centuries, humanity had been underestimated. Their history had been hidden, their strength forgotten. And now, with the ancient fleet fully awake, the galaxy had learned the truth. Humans were never primitive. They were never weak. They were the culmination of a forgotten age, the return of a power that had shaped worlds long before any empire had risen. On Earth, celebrations were quiet. Humans did not dance or sing. They did not boast or flaunt their power. Instead, they watched and planned, guiding their fleets, protecting their people, and ensuring that their strength would be used wisely. The old man stood once more on Earth's observation deck, looking at the stars. The Guardians' lights glowed faintly in the distance, signaling their presence across the galaxy. He smiled softly, not with pride, but with understanding. "The galaxy has finally remembered," he whispered, "and it will never forget again." In the space around Earth, the alien fleets that had once mocked humanity now moved in formation alongside human ships. They were allies, but cautious allies. They had learned that underestimating humans could mean annihilation. Across the council chambers, messages from across the galaxy continued to arrive. Systems that had once rebelled or resisted now offered resources, fleets, and knowledge to humanity. They understood that the ancient Guardians were not merely weapons, but symbols of a past that demanded respect. And yet, Even with the galaxy kneeling, humans remained humble. They had power unlike any other species, but they understood the responsibility it carried. Their leaders spoke openly, guiding empires toward cooperation instead of destruction, showing that humanity's greatest strength was not only in their machines or their fleets, but in their wisdom and restraint. The galaxy, for the first time in millennia, was united not under fear, but under the guidance of a species that had once been laughed at. Humans had proven that even the smallest world could produce power beyond imagination. They had shown that history and memory could awaken strength, and that patience, wisdom, and courage could overcome arrogance, and the Guardians remained vigilant, moving silently through space, a reminder to all. The past had returned, and the future would never again underestimate humanity. The old man turned from the observation deck, looking at the young leaders around him. "We have begun a new era," he said softly. "Not through conquest, but through understanding. Let this era be remembered as the time when the galaxy learned the truth. Humans were never weak. Humans were never simple. Humans were eternal." The galaxy had laughed, the galaxy had trembled, and the galaxy now knelt. The shadows of the ancient fleet stretched across the stars, carrying humanity's presence and power into every corner of space. And the lesson was clear to every empire. Humans were not to be mocked, feared, or underestimated. They were the guardians of the galaxy's forgotten past, and they had returned to ensure that no one would ever forget again.